Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Jungle Brothers podcast, episode number 9.
Yeah.
I'm here with Joe Worthington. Myself, I'm Paul Fotofili. Today's podcast has Giora and Coach Alan. Joe, tell us about it.
Yeah, today's third piece on the Jungle Brothers slogan, Fight, Lift, Move. We delve into movement and what it means to us, what the fuck it means in general, because it's a pretty ambiguous term that's getting thrown around a lot. And basically how it applies to our community's training and how it can help you in your training. If you guys haven't already done so, make sure you jump on to junglebrothers.com, download our sick ebook on nailing that elusive handstand. 5 reasons why you're still struggling. You can just chuck your email in the little box that pops up. Easy way to start making some gains. You can also sign up for our famous 5-Minute Friday email, which is a snapshot of all the coolest shit we're learning, practicing, reading, the stuff we're watching that week. Upcoming events. We got some cool shit coming up, actually. We got the Bulletproof Bodies for BJJ happening Saturday the 8th of April, and then a second event on Saturday the 13th of May. That first one's almost sold out, so if you're interested, get in quick. This event is basically for all the BJJ crew out there who are dealing with constant injuries and niggling strength and also mobility issues. It's going to be giving those guys a bit of a blueprint around how they can get on top of maintaining their body, not have the injuries, and become stronger and more flexible on the mats. Other events, we've got the next JB retreat happening on the 18th to the 21st of May. This is a 4-day event. This is only for serious knowledge seekers. So just putting the word out there. If there's anyone that's interested, get in touch with us and we can tell you more about it and see if you're right for the program.
It's a small group. There's loads of fun. It's 3 nights. Like, how many people?
20 people max. I think we've got about 4 spaces left.
Yeah, there's a lot of knowledge delivered and shared.
It's an immersive event, completely isolated from your regular life for the 4 days. All food provided, all accommodation, and just a lot of training. We're looking at about 8 hours plus of training a day, plus a lot of workshopping, things around mindset, recovery, meditation practice, all that stuff. So
if you need a little breakthrough, this is kind of the perfect thing to do it for you.
Spot on. Look, whether you're here in Sydney or if you're afar and you want to start your strength and movement journey, get in touch. We offer a free consult for everyone out there. Just throw your details onto our homepage, junglebrothers.com. Throw your email in. One of us Jungle Brothers will be directly in touch to book you in and organise that consult. I did a consult last night with a girl from London who's joined our online coaching program. We've got people, in other parts of Sydney, other parts of Australia. We've got people living next door to us, so we cover all areas.
So cool.
Yeah, get in touch. We'd like to hear from you guys. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Yeah, cool. Let's get into it. Check. How's the headphone levels for you guys?
Yeah, mine's good.
It's good.
Check.
Yeah, sound good, bro.
Mine's like an erect penis. Hello? Oh, we're recording.
Talk into it.
Good start.
Darlinghurst, baby. You can take the boy out of Darlinghurst. You can't take. Hey, let's roll into it. We're talking about movement today. It's the third piece of the Jungle Brothers slogan or triage, the fight, lift, move, the one we haven't explored yet. If you didn't listen to the other ones on fighting and lifting, definitely go back and have a listen to those. You don't have to go back right now. You can listen to this. But this is a big one. We've got myself. We've got Jungle Brother Paulie.
G'day.
We've got T-Bone.
Hello.
And then we got Coach Alan in the house today. It's his first appearance with us.
Hi, everyone. First podcast as well.
Hey, right on, bro.
Cherry.
Nice. Pop that. Man, let's go right into it. Al, can you give us a little background on yourself and tell us a little story?
We love Al.
Yeah. We love you too, Paul. I mean, I love you too, Paul. And I love you guys. So I've been doing a lot of different kinds of, physical things all my life. Recently, I've just escaped from the corporate world. So...
Free.
Yeah. It was a pretty tumultuous 2.5 years in corporate finance, and then just working in random places before that. But throughout pretty much my whole life, I've always been super interested in motion and human movement, and all kind of started with like action movies. Like most boys, you see something on TV, it's explosions and fast cutting and fast movements and muscles and people getting fucked up. You know, it's like pretty awesome. You know, it's something that you want to learn. And it's something I've always wanted to learn ever since I was a very small child, but my parents would never let me. Maybe too afraid of me getting hurt, medical bills, emotional pain.
You're talking about martial arts?
Yeah, mostly martial arts. I always wanted to learn some form of that, and then they wouldn't let me, so I was like, okay, let me learn tennis. And they still wouldn't let me learn tennis. And when I was in year 10 or something, I started to learn Wing Chun. I lived in Seven Hills, and Wing Chun was in Westmead, and it was only like 3 stations away, but they're like, nah, that's too far, it's too expensive, it's too dangerous, all these excuses, and I only learned for about 2 months or something. And it wasn't until I was in uni when I was making my own money and I was sort of running my own schedule that I was able to learn martial arts.
You were a man.
Yeah, exactly. So I started learning capoeira because I used to study at UTS, and there was a capoeira place just right across the station, right across the tracks. Capoeira Brazil with Mestre Peixe, my first master.
Capoeira Brazil.
Brazil. Oh man, it was a great time. Like I did it for 3 years and I loved it, and it was actually like this really great mix of a lot of different disciplines. And I'm really glad that was like I came to it at that time, because I had, you know, enough maturity to kind of really appreciate it, and enough physicality to really make the most of it. I think because I'd always done some form of physical exercise, and you know, in many ways I've been kind of gifted with various things. I was always a bit stronger, more coordinated than people at school and stuff. So I had that going for me, and then I came into capoeira after I'd done a little bit of martial arts, a lot of my own self-experimentation and a lot of my own self-teaching and stuff, and did a bit of dance and stuff in school as well, and that kind of all blended in.
What kind of dance?
Liquid popping and locking.
Oh, yeah.
My act used to be called Liquid Metal.
Holy shit.
You just got a new nickname in the gym now, bro.
Oh, okay, cool.
That was just...
I like it.
That was just amongst your friends and for like talent nights or something like that? It wasn't...
Well, none of my friends...
Did you have a dance class at school?
No. So it was actually just me in the backyard. I didn't even have a mirror, so I used to go at nighttime and turn the light on, and then the light would be behind me, so I'd cast this shadow, and then I'd use the shadow to like see if I was doing the moves properly.
Wow.
Yeah. So the thing is, my moves actually tended to be very outside of my body, because when my arms went in front of my body, I couldn't see them because it was one and the same shadow. So I was it was limited by what materials and resources I had at that time. But I actually performed at the talent show in year 12, and people were like fucking going crazy, like holy shit.
Just
you know?
solo?
Just solo, yeah. I just learned by myself, you know.
Wow.
I just put some music on in my old stereo and just blasted it in the backyard and just
Awesome.
shadow danced.
You have video footage of this?
Oh, man, it's lost somewhere. Old Girraween High School video
Just
archive
hunt
somewhere.
that
I got to
shit
hunt
down, bro.
I know.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's
These
like the
days
old
it didn't
rip-off.
happen unless it was on video.
Yeah, it's true. That's what I say to people. It's like, oh, I got a handstand. It's like, you put on video? No, it didn't happen. Yeah, so I did the talent show, but it was all just a rip-off. So I was actually ripping off this dancer called David Elsewhere. And I don't know if you guys remember him. It was like early days of the internet, and it was like Collaboration 2001, like spelled with a K. And it was this show in...
I definitely wasn't watching dance videos at that time on the internet.
But it was like viral. It was one of the first things. Like I saw it on ebombsworld.com. So it was like this old school like...
E-bombs?
E-bombs world. I don't know if anyone listening will recognize that, but that was old, so old. There's some pretty stupid stuff on there. Anyway, like it was this guy, this really nerdy looking dude, just walks up on stage and he's wearing this like long sleeve orange thing. And he just starts popping out these crazy moves. Like he's like hitting like the stuttering kind of like robotic stuff, and then he would just melt into this fucking thing, and the whole crowd was going nuts. And no one had ever seen that before back then, you know? So he was like the top guy, and he was my idol. So I had many different idols growing up, you know? That was my idol at the time, around year 12. And then before that was like Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Bruce Lee, all the martial artists. And then it was David Elsewhere, and then I had a few others as I went along. But anyway, like that helped me be better at capoeira, because capoeira was, it's a very rhythmic type of art, and it's, there's a lot of combative elements as well. So it combines a lot of the, like it's not great for dance, but it's not great for self-defense, and it's not great for learning music, but it's actually a great blend of those things, so you can sort of in one place, in one sort of unit of time, spend, you know, like be immersed in all of those things and get a bit of both. And then if you tended more towards the dance stuff, you could go into that a bit more, or combat or music. And if you wanted, it actually gave, I feel, if you do it properly, if you have a good teacher, it actually gives you a really good base to move and manipulate yourself around other objects or other people, because and also be in front of other people while you're doing the movements, because a lot of the time, like, people work out in a gym and they don't want to be seen. They just kind of do their thing, and they'd write, like, that's why a lot of people don't even turn up to the gym. They don't want to be seen, like, doing stuff. But here you're kind of forced to. You're training with everyone. There's a community aspect, and then after every training session, you have a roda. So RODA, they pronounce it roda in Brazil. And you basically, like, play instruments and sing together. So everyone's standing in a circle singing and clapping, giving the energy and sending it into the circle. And then people in the middle are actually playing. So you're using some of the moves that you learned in the class and previous classes. Similar to, like, what you do in sparring and stuff in jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai. But this is like a sort of a non-destructive art, and it's more about, like, conversational. So it's like this.
It's kind of like I'm thinking about, like, CrossFitters, when, like, someone's trying to wrap up a workout and they're, like, smashing themselves with the barbell, and everyone gathers around and starts clapping and chanting, like, come on, man, come on, come on. It's the same kind of thing, but much less beautiful and much less wholesome, but it's like, but it's the same.
Everyone's
like,
geeing everyone,
feeding that energy into those couple of people that the spotlight's on.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pesci used to get really angry when people didn't clap and they didn't put energy in, because it's actually everyone's in it together. And actually, that's one of the lessons that we were taught. And I don't think I really properly ever learned that lesson. I was just kind of I just wanted to play. I was like, fuck, when can I get in? Yeah. So, but it sort of comes with maturity, but, like, everyone has to have a responsibility for everyone else. So you kind of learn that as a part of the community, So I did capoeira for 3 years, and then I left and kind of just floated around for a little while, just with life and uni and making films and stuff. And but then I came across a bit of the Ito stuff a few years down the track, and that was really eye-opening for me. It was just, I spent quite a few years, like, following his work and doing his training and really following a lot of his concepts, like, he put into words a lot of the stuff that I was already kind of thinking in my mind. I was like, where I wanted to go with physical cultivation, because there was a lot of, different kinds of disciplines out there. It's like, which one do you choose? That's where most people get stuck. And over time I realized it's like, everyone is actually completely different, and you need to find your own mix of anything, in any aspect of life, especially when it comes to your physical training, because your body is completely different. It's the first one that's ever existed in history, more than likely, within this particular space and time where there's all these different, stimulus in the environment. So it's, like, even more important now to find your own groove. So I felt like that's what he was trying to get people to do, to move more and move in more diverse ways.
So for the listeners, Ito, meaning Ito Portal.
Correct. Yes.
Did you follow his online programming or anything like that, or were you just, like, YouTubing and doing the stuff that he was doing, or did you do some courses? Like, what was your like, path with the Ito journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. I started, actually, his video of him was a self-dominance that actually appeared in my life while I was doing capoeira, and I just thought he was another sick capoeira dude, so I just watched him like, that's cool, and just ignored it. And then only years later, when my friend was talking about it and he was doing the online coaching, and then he was like, dude, you got to check this guy, his name's Ito Portal, and he flicked me across that video. I'm like, dude, I've seen this video before. And then that's when it sort of stuck, because I was at that level, right, at that maturity level. So I did a Movement X with him a few months after that, which was in 2014, I'm pretty sure. And then I did a core set workshop in 2015, and then end of 2015 I did online coaching for about 3 months, and it was a really long 3 months. It was really long, but it actually made me learn a lot about many different things, and I really needed it at that time, because I was working in the finance job, and I really needed an outlet, and I just needed to have a space where I could go and release some frustration.
Why was it long?
Oh, because it was like 6 days a week. So the commitment is you have to work out, you have to be able to move and train for like 6 days a week, at least 2 sessions, about 2 sessions a day. And
how long are your sessions?
The expectation is 3+ hours. And
per session?
No. In total per day.
Total.
So
okay.
It typically takes like 90 minutes to 2 hours to do a session. And then it's basically like that you've got some straight arm strength, some bent arm strength, a bit of hand balancing and mobility. Like mobility was a really big one, and then those legs as well. So it kind of covers the whole body, and it helps you bulletproof a lot of the joints because you're moving them at such high volumes, and the intensity is really high, and the amount of activity in your brain is really high as well. Like you can't just phone it in with these kind of workouts. You have to really, especially because the standards are so high. Like if you were to fold your knee down in active pigeon, you have to touch something at the bottom. You mark it, or there's no rep. And then when you hold yourself to those standards, and then you constantly push for an extra degree every single time.
You're doing the work properly.
Yeah, it's hard. It's never easy, but it gets a bit easier in terms of not being so sore after a while. But it takes a lot of focus. But I felt like I had that back then because I had time before and after work to do it, and they were spaced far enough apart. So it was actually perfect for that sort of lifestyle. And if you didn't want to hang out and socialize and drink and stuff with your office buddies and stuff. And for me, it was actually, I really wanted to get into a lot more of the acrobatics and the floreos and stuff.
What is floreos? Floreos is the capoeira kind of tricks?
Yeah. So I think it translates to like flowers or something. And it's essentially kind of like a garnish to your movement. So in capoeira, you have these basic movements like the kicks and the escapes and the jinga. And then apart from that, there's the acrobatic side, and they call them floreos. So it's kind of like, you don't just do floreos the whole time. If you're just 100% floreos, you're just doing breakdancing, right? So the idea is you're conversing with the other person, and then every once in a while when you feel like the flow, then you throw in a little floreo. It could be like as simple as a cartwheel. It could be as simple as like a little boomerang kick.
So it's like you got your practical ass kicking side, and then you got like your fancy pants.
Yeah.
Kind of
Head kick.
tip-tap shit.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you can combine the two.
Quit it with that tip-tap shit.
Actually, the tip-tap shit is actually sort of part of a taunt. It can be like a taunt.
They
that's
actually
just
have
language.
Like a tip-tap?
What's tip-tap?
You haven't seen Kickboxer? Oh, he's probably too.
Oh, no, I haven't.
Damn,
Yeah.
Bro, fuck this. Pack your bags and leave my house.
Yeah, I wasn't too much into Van Damme, like I just never came across it too much.
Fuck you, bro.
maybe it's time, Joe. Maybe you got to lend me your Van Damme collection.
Fuck anyone out there that doesn't like Van Damme.
I didn't say I didn't like Van Damme. Yeah.
No, just kidding.
As Joe's onboard program when you train with Joe. You got to do 6 sessions just watching Van Damme movies within the first 6-week program.
You randomly tested on dialogue foundations. I think it's a good moment for us to go into a bit of a definition of this movement thing, because we're getting deep into the guts of it, and I think that the term movement is still very ambiguous for a lot of people out there. T, maybe you'd like to sort of tell us your thoughts on it.
Well, we have it in our name. So our business name, our gym name is Jungle Brothers Strength and Movement. We originally came up with movement, would have been about 4 or 5 years ago, kind of thing.
5,
So
yeah.
Paul came up with the name for our gym. This was before the movement trend, and he came up with the word movement because obviously it referred back to physical movement, but it also had that second meaning, which was a bit more of a political statement for us, which was like a movement away from your standard exercise prescription or your standard fitness first gym or whatever it was kind of thing. So we wanted to make a bit of a statement when we opened our gym where we could potentially be in a place where we could practice whatever we want and not have someone telling us, hey, don't lift like that, or you shouldn't be doing that kind of exercise here, or making too much noise, or whatever it was. So that was generally our original introduction to the word. And then after that, I think it was you, Joe. Joe started playing around with the Ito Portal method, and that brought a whole new meaning to the word movement. So maybe you want to go into a bit of
we almost kind of grew into it in a way, because like I think it always had that double meaning, and particularly like from my jiu-jitsu background, I remember we used to play around a lot with the natural gymnastics, the gymnastico natural
did a lot of
stuff.
that.
Yeah, and it
With
was
Janji as well.
Yeah, and it was a pretty organic kind of, thing that I just picked up along the jiu-jitsu journey, kind of. And so that was featuring a lot in our training. But we had this kind of idea to break the mold, but it was hard to fit a context to it in a way. And then I remember when I first started working with Ido, I went to that first Movement X, which is the same workshop Alan did. We did different ones. But I was like, fuck, like everything that he expounded on that workshop was basically what I'd been trying to articulate in my own mind, but never could. And was like, holy shit, like he broke like a whole bunch of paradigms over that weekend. And I was like, yeah, that's why we're doing it. And holy shit, yeah, there's all those options and moving out of alignment and, moving in more complex patterns and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, like you said, T, it then started to evolve again, or I guess rather maybe add more meaning to the name that we had. Yeah, I mean, I think for a big part of it for me now is just the perspective that we take. It carries over to all the stuff that we do, and the term movement as used by people who are really in the movement community, it basically means any form of moving, right? It's like absolutely anything you do. So it covers any human action. But the way, I think for us, it's like really about taking this perspective of movement. So it's a way of rehabbing, it's a way of becoming stronger, it's a way of becoming more intelligent. It's a quest, it's a kind of never-ending quest. It makes you a better fighter, it makes you better at jiu-jitsu, it makes you a better weightlifter, it makes you, leaner, all of these things. It's kind of the link between all of the stuff that we do.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely also a very personal journey. It's a way to get inside of your own mind and how you react to different things and how you approach and choose different things. Because if you get stuck in the same old, patterns of, bodybuilding type movements in the gym, you can easily switch yourself off. And then you never really, you kind of do it for years. And then, you guys have told me about people that that have been doing the same bodybuilding routine for decades. And then they just don't even know why they're doing it anymore, but they don't know what to do next. So, it's basically a way to get sort of, prevent yourself from getting stuck, and also constantly diagnosing or being aware of where you're at physically and mentally, because it's not, when you're doing this kind of training, it's very mental as well. There's a lot of internal stuff happening, and that's where I think arguably a lot of the people doing it now, that's what they're doing it for, like the physical stuff is a huge part of it. It's like the attractor, and it's really fun, and it helps to attract other people so you can train with them or train them. But at the same time, it's like there's always this underlying personal thing that's happening. And that's also one of the attractions to it as well, is because you get to know yourself better. So that to me, I think that's what it's sort of becoming, and I want to learn different disciplines and learn different ways of moving so that I can see, okay, what can I do right now with what I've got and what can I get
that's right.
later.
I think one of the other big assets for us having movement in our name is that it gives us like this immunity to do what we please in the gym, and we don't have to have an answer as to why. So it's like, I think over my time in the fitness industry, there's always so much scrutiny over every single exercise, how you do it, why are you doing that, what kind of results you're doing it, and then comes the criticism afterwards. I like the fact that in our gym, people come in without the expectation of, okay, someone's going to judge me for doing something that might not be quite right, or a little bit out of place, or potentially not leading me in this direction of whatever it is, building lean muscle mass and getting stronger. And I like the idea that we can apply stuff in this gym and experiment without being judged, I think it's a good thing. And people come here expecting the same. Like when someone comes into here and they train, they're not expecting a specific style of training. In fact, they don't know what the hell they're going to get. Even our members that are here, we can come in a month later after we've gone on a workshop or away on a camp and literally say, everything we've been teaching you over the last 6 months is going to change. It's not saying that what we've been doing was wrong. It just means that we're going to try something different kind of method, different kind of approach to movement. And in that way, you're going to grow in different ways, Yeah,
that's right. It doesn't box us into anything.
Yeah, and it allows us to go searching for different styles and different methods of training in lots of different areas. So, for instance, heading over to Queensland to do the MoveNat course, and then Alan bringing in the Cha-cha? Is it cha-cha? Fuck, sorry, bro.
Salsa.
Salsa,
Dad
and
move.
and using yoga and breathing methods and meditation and all these things that come under the one umbrella.
Yeah, that's an interesting point actually. Like all of that random shit that we do.
Yeah.
The handstand workshops, the qigong, Alan's salsa class, your Movnat stuff, Ido Portal. It's all linked. It's all part of the same thing.
Right.
And it's interesting because like maybe some people don't know this, but we basically pick those things based on what we want to learn. So when we see someone who's doing something cool and we're like, shit, we can learn that, we bring them in here. Now, when we market one of those events, because obviously there's a business side to it, so it's like, oh, if we're going to pay for this person to come and teach, we need to make sure we sell tickets to the event. So we market towards the community that event would appeal to, right? So we had a certain group of people in here on the weekend for the handstand workshop. A few weeks ago, we had another group of people in for the Qigong workshop. A few weeks before that, we had a different group in here for Emma Lewis's mobility workshop. There's JB tribe members at every one of those events. And really, what we're trying to do is promote those things to all of our people. We want all of our people that train with us to have all of those skills and to explore all of those different modalities.
Yeah, have those options, And the other thing it allows us to do is to take the best, or what we feel is the best, from all of those different methods and create our own. And you see it, especially with the members that have been here from the, for a substantial amount of time, and they're practicing day in and day out, that they're just getting better and better at moving. I know I am. I know all of our coaches are. So I feel like we're heading in the right direction, and it's been a real revelation for us to be able to have the courage to look in areas other than conventional exercise, strength and conditioning.
Was that always the intention for you guys when you opened up Jungle Brothers?
It was, yeah.
It was like a reaction to what you were seeing happening in the fitness world?
Yeah, we were all very frustrated with the amount of restriction that the standard training environment had on us. And
the attitudes within that realm.
Yeah. So we feel like we've created an environment where people can come here and you just don't feel like there's any of that pressure of someone judging the way that you perform or move. And this allows you to push yourself. The only way you better yourself in anything is to get outside of your comfort zone. You cannot do that if you're feeling self-conscious. It is almost impossible. You've got to get rid of the ego, got to get rid of that self-conscious, got to feel comfortable around the people you're around. And iron sharpens iron, so they say, you want to be around the right people to help you get better at what you do, So.
And it's a cool thing, and this is something I know Ido is very vocal about at his events. But that, if you look at the tribe here, you look at the people training, you have people that are like absolute beasts in certain classes, and then like total pussies in other classes. Like you could say there's the heavy lifters that or those that are killing it in jungle gymnastics, really strong on the rings and stuff, and then they get into a movement prep class or an acro strength class, and they're falling to pieces. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the person next to them that might have been the weaker of the two in the strength class is dominating, and that's kind of the whole idea.
Absolutely.
You get exposed to all of these different things. You can't hide behind what it is that you're good at, which is really what the vast majority of people in conventional gyms are doing, right? They're doing the shit that they're confident at, that they're pretty okay at, that they've been doing for years. So they're not challenging themselves.
Yep.
In that regard.
Yeah, and the further they go down that path, the more they cling to it, and it becomes harder and harder to let go of it. Yeah, and they end up paying some physical and potentially emotional, mental price later on for that. It's important to be flexible with that kind of thing. It's interesting actually because I won't mention names, but there was a guy in one of the lift classes, and he was asking me about jungle gymnastics. I'm like, how long have you been a member here? You've never been to a jungle gymnastics class? And he's like, that's the one where you do all that weird stuff, isn't it? I realized then that even the people in this gym, not all of, it's the first time they've been exposed to anything that's beyond doing bicep curls or doing some pulley machines or doing just like regular bodyweight stuff, I think that's really cool.
That's fucking huge, right?
Yeah, and hats off to the members for realizing that, receiving our message and, making an effort to take themselves to an uncomfortable place, knock on our door, email us, it's amazing, really. Like, you know,
It's a
hats
big
off to
step
everyone.
for a lot of
Hell
people,
Yeah.
a big step.
Yeah, they already lose a layer of their ego, you know, before they even start their first class. So, props.
Yeah, it's true. It's interesting, actually. This morning I had a consult with a new guy who got in touch, wanted to find out more about what we do, and specifically wanted the movement thing, you know. And he basically is coming from it sounded like a pretty high-level NRL career through his 20s. Was really fucking strong in the gym at deadlifting and squatting and benching and stuff. Played hard, has a fuckload of injuries now. Really, really tight, really restricted, and has come to this movement thing and just wants, you know, as he called it, he's like, I just want to move more. I want to be doing stuff. He goes, I don't want to touch a fucking barbell anymore, and, you know, all those things. And it was a really enjoyable conversation between the two of us. And what I commended him on was the fact that when a lot of people get to that sort of, they get to the end of the path of it's usually around the early 30s, late 20s, where they realize that they can't continue doing what they have been doing. And they either make a choice to go down the path that's less comfortable, that will teach them the things that they're not good at, where they'll find out more about themselves, or they refuse to face that truth, and they either stop training altogether or they keep doing what they're doing and they get injured and then they get forced to stop training.
Yeah.
It becomes a real ego battle at that stage, right?
It does. I feel like that you kind of end up on the path anyway, whether you like it or not. So it's up to you if you want to take it on yourself, or if you let your body send you that.
Dictate.
Yeah, send you that signal. It's like, nah, you got to do it, and then that's when it's like a lot harder.
It's true, but tell me, I mean, I think, and this is the sad reality, people these days can live often without ever having to face it.
Yeah.
You know, it won't be a good existence, and there's going to be a lot of time spent with medical professionals.
Yeah.
But you can get by with being a fucking slut.
People will do
Yeah.
incredible things to avoid facing their fears. That Carl Jung quote.
Spot on.
Well, when you think about, like, I think it's like 2% of the population actually exercise on a regular basis. So we're talking about 2% of the population. When we're talking about people that step from a conventional gym into our gym, that's a tiny, or a gym like ours, it's a tiny, tiny percentage of the 2%. But what about the 98% that feel too intimidated to step into
A park.
A conventional
exactly
gym.
a fucking park, you know, or a Anytime Fitness,
Or
or
a pair of shorts.
It's true.
you know, or Curves, or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these people are living for long periods of life because, as you said, you know, they rely on the medical system to hold them together, you know.
Yeah, I saw that a lot in my office job back in the day. I was the anomaly. I'd turn up to work from the gym, and then I'd leave work to the gym. You know, especially doing the Edo stuff, I'd be doing it twice a day. I'd be like, most people there'd be lucky to get to the gym once a week. You know, so I was that guy who was working on my handstands, while everyone else was like, "Oh, my wrist hurts because I did a push up." Like literally, there was a guy who was like, "I injured my wrist because I tried to push up." I'm like, "Damn, dude." And
That guy in the office, the weirdo.
Yeah, I was definitely. I looked the part. You know, definitely looked the part, but I didn't.
He's so obsessed with training. When's he going to start taking life seriously?
Yeah. He'll grow out of it.
Yeah.
Get real, man.
Yeah. Make some investments.
Yeah.
Just not the money kind.
Yeah, Al, you tie that in well, the idea of, you know, with your finance knowledge, you tie the idea of investing in your health well into, you know, you parallel it well with investing money.
Yeah.
What's the phrase you use? You know, it's like you've mentioned it in the past to me. Maybe it's not a phrase, but it's just like how you see it in terms of making that investment in yourself now.
Yeah.
So that the returns down the track are greater or...
Compound interest.
Yeah, the compound interest thing is a big one. It's a big one. It emerges in our training as well. Like, basically the concept is anything... This is a different one now, but I think I know which one you're talking about. It's probably like something to do with investing and ingesting or something.
It's got those rhymes. You hit me with another rhyme this morning. What was that one?
Oh, no game, no aim.
No game, no
So compounding, it's something that's actually very missing in our basic financial education. And I feel like if you knew it and you knew how your choices now affect that, people would deal with their money very differently. I know as soon as I knew it, I was like, fuck, okay, I'm going to change all these things. But it happens in training as well. So anything consistently you do over time is very powerful. So it's a very powerful anything. And it doesn't matter what it is. Like if you just sit on the couch for consistently enough over time, it becomes very powerful. It takes over your life. If you save money and you're savvy enough with investing and you know what to invest in and you're patient enough and you've organized your life around just keeping money in certain places and not touching it and living your life and being happy and enjoying it, it becomes very powerful over time because you've consistently put your energy into it. And it's the same thing. It's just like consistent energy in the gym or consistently in some sort of a practice where you have an aim because you know what game you're playing, then it becomes very powerful over time because you stick to it. If it doesn't interest you, it doesn't inspire you, you can't sustain it. So you'll never get the gains that you need out of it. So that's if people find it hard to motivate themselves to exercise or whatever it happens to be in their lives, whether it be to start a business or whatever, they got to really examine, okay, what game am I playing here?
Yeah, they got to align it with something that they're getting a benefit from or that aligns with a value of theirs.
100%. Alignment with value is massive. 100%.
Yeah, it's a perspective thing, isn't it?
Massively.
I think.
Sorry, after you.
I think like that's a big part of the system we have behind getting people to set movement goals when they come in.
Oh,
here.
This is a good thing to talk about. Really.
Yeah, right. So it's like because most people come in here. Yeah, no, probably not most now. Maybe 60% of people come in here with the standard kind of goals of I want to lose a little bit of weight, tone up a little bit, feel more energetic. Yeah, sometimes that's the truth, but they might not say it.
Yeah. It's usually get big or get small.
Yeah, that's right. But we kind of try to shift people away from taking that perspective, and it's like, look, why don't you focus more on the movement and what you can actually do with your body and set goals around that, and the getting big or getting small or getting lean or whatever, that will be taken care of in that process. And ultimately, if you connect yourself to a physical goal of trying to learn a new skill, that's going to be much more rewarding than just losing 5 kilos.
Oh, totally.
And it's going to encompass so many other awesome things.
100%. Yeah, and it keeps you at it. It keeps you at it. Like if it's just a number that's driving you, it makes you unhappy. Whether it's a number on the scales or a number of like, okay, I need my waist to be this size, or if it's like a number in your bank account.
Yeah, I want to get $50,000 this year.
Yeah. It consumes you, but it doesn't actually feed you ever. It doesn't give you what you need. You might get that, loss of 5 kilos and you're just like, oh, I still feel like the same person. Or you get that 50K in the bank or $1 million or whatever and you're like, oh, shit, the other guy's $1.5 million. And then if you haven't addressed what's behind what drove you to that in the first place, then it becomes really difficult to feel happy and then sustain a healthier practice, And it's not as fun. Like, it's just not as fun chasing the numbers like that.
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
Like you guys have been in the lifting community for a little while and you've done your, increasing loads and stuff. I mean, at what point did you guys find that wasn't fulfilling your needs?
I found it was an emotional journey, especially when Adrian or Joe lifted more than me on anything.
Yeah, I was going to say once I surpassed T, it was it. I was done.
Fucking pissed me off. Annoyed the shit out of me.
But that drove you.
Yeah, it was good motivation, but the wrong kind. It was a negative motivation, really, when you think about it. Because then the ego gets involved and you start putting on more weight than you should quicker. You get the lift, but you hurt yourself in the process.
You got like how many discs you got, man? Fuck yeah, one. Not a big sacrifice.
Yeah. I think on a serious note, the thing that used to knock me around was even when you put in you get to a point where you're putting a lot of time into like a really small increase in weight, and I think this is for any athlete across the board that's going into like a performance. You move from that, okay, what's your goal out of this lift? Is it for me to get my body stronger so I can do other things, or is it to get better at lifting and then one day compete or whatever it is? You get to a point where you're putting in shitloads of time for a very small amount in return. And for me, that's not the kind of life that I want to live. So I got to a point where I was like, all right, I'm strong enough. And try something else, But I felt like the times when I didn't hit the numbers that I want would put me in a really bad headspace. And I don't think it's necessary to go through that,
Was it hard to walk away?
No, not for me.
Okay.
I got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm not enjoying this anymore. Like just chasing numbers. Too much time going into a very two-dimensional lift in comparison to the other fun stuff I could be doing, and the rewards weren't high enough. You know, for me that was a personal thing. You know, and getting upset over not being able to put some extra weight on a bar is kind of pathetic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, like that's not to say sometimes the lifting goal is a great goal for people as well, particularly newer people here.
Yeah.
You know, because there's some standards, you know, that we've mentioned on other podcasts around that. Like, yeah, you know, you should be able to squat your body weight a few times and, you know, deadlift double your body weight or 1.5 your body weight, whatever. So for someone who's coming in who's never really set goals around their training besides aesthetic goals or scales related goals, it's pretty cool for them to
great,
like
man.
crack 100 kilos or
Awesome.
and shout out Nick actually like this week, you know, he hit a triple for
Martino.
a goal that he'd set for earlier this year, a goal that he'd set for some time to achieve later this year, and he hit a triple at 130 kilo deadlift, and then he was like, fuck, awesome. And
Damn.
that's mad for him, right?
100%.
Yeah, so it's
Danny
like,
too this morning.
Danny too, PR,
Smashed it.
nice,
Good for him. I think he got 140, like
beast.
added 10 on there.
But so it's, you know, like those things, they are good too, but I think it's important, and just like T mentioned, to have a bit of a context around why you have that goal and to not get so obsessed with the goal that it rules everything. Get it, achieve it, appreciate it, and then choose something else that's maybe on a different path.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the combination of fight, lift, move is really cool, because they're all very much connected, but they're all quite different.
Yeah.
And so you can set a goal in one area and achieve that, and then you can go and set a goal in one of the other areas, which will take you down another path and help you develop in another way.
Yeah.
And they complement each other.
Yeah, and it's not like you ever, you know, like you, tell you what, you haven't been lifting, you know, that in such a dedicated fashion for a couple of years now, but you could still deadlift a shitload of weight if you had to, and you could still squat plenty of weight, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like you sacrificed that much by stepping away from something.
Actually, the work that you've been doing, if you went back to lift, you'd probably find that you'd push through the ceilings that you were in before, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Because I'm not getting held back by the
Mechanics
those little
and-
bits of pain. You know, that's always been the barrier for me. I get to a point where something starts to hurt. I'm like, okay, I can't go any further than this because something is weak in my chain and it's not allowing me to get stronger. That's when you have to go. That's what the other disciplines complement. You know, because
Yeah, exactly.
you can build that strength out of alignment.
Well, I kind of wanted to move the conversation towards the gym itself, how move is played out here, in which classes, what type of movements we do here for the listeners. What does it look like? Joe, do you want to? What have we got? We got movement prep.
So we've got movement prep, we've got jungle gymnastics, we now have acro strength, we've got a handstand class on Wednesday nights. So we've got quite a few that, you know, like firstly, the movement thing, like we mentioned before, is an ambiguous title, right? So I think for the conventional fitness community, what movement represents from the outside is like handstands and working on the rings and crawling around on the floor. That's really what the majority of people see movement as. Now, for the person who's at Fitness First, it's kind of all they need to know to get started, because it's enough of the shit they're not doing. It's body weight strength, it's mobility, it's balance, it's coordination, it's all those things.
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, but in reality, you know, once you get into it, you're like, fuck, there's salsa dancing, there's breath work, there's, you know, whatever.
Like you said, it's a perspective.
It's a perspective, exactly.
To explore. It's like this kind of a obligation of this perspective to explore, to go places that you haven't been before, to always come back to the beginner's mindset and try and find somewhere where you suck at.
Exactly.
Which is what, you know, a lot of what Ito would preach.
Yeah,
And
that's
still
right.
does.
And look, I mean, those, you know, so those classes for us, they're the classes where it is based around using your body only. You know, we're doing a lot of gymnastic work. We're doing a lot of hand balancing. We're doing a lot of acrobatic or capoeira elements. We're doing a lot of loaded stretching, a lot of active mobility. And then we're just throwing in shit that we've picked up along the way, right? So it's like, you know, we want to develop those body weight strength skills and cool tricks, but we also want people to have the coordination and the awareness to go along to a dance class and be able to handle themselves and not be a retard, or to go to a jiu-jitsu class and learn for the first time how to roll
And not get injured.
and be like, have enough, software that they can process the information that's coming at them and actually get something out of that. And I think
the hardware.
And exactly.
Nice analogies.
Yeah. So that's, so for us, like
PTs
those,
and their analogies.
they're our real movement kind of heavy classes.
We even do a lot of isometric work. To the outside eye, looks like you're not moving at all, but there's a lot going on in your body. To hold a static position is constant movement. Constant movement.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's not actually about moving around the room, right? Like that's not what the movement thing is. It's
Yeah, and that
goes
moves
down
into
to a cellular level.
the breathing exercises, which is another form of movement. Diaphragm muscle, bowel movement. I know that's probably taking a step too far. We do focus on nutrition here.
Well, it's important to have good bowel movement.
He's
like,
always been into poos.
bro.
He's always been into the poo talk. Ever
the
since that,
permaculturalist.
was that, I think the
that
first,
smells good for the
first
soil.
blog post. The first blog post we ever wrote was from T, and it was like, "Know your shit."
Hey.
And it was like, your
That's
poo
great.
should look like this, and it had like a little diagram and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had a list of poos and pictures, and
Softness, hardness.
Common
Yeah.
symptoms.
I actually got those pictures off Rate My Poo.
Oh, yeah, I see that website. God, I love the
Sick
internet.
fuck.
How did you, what was the selection process of the
I think
poos?
Paul showed me that one.
Al's the one with all the weird, like, oh, you remember that
E-bombs
website? You remember that website?
Yeah.
Bringing up these 90s.
Scratching the surface. Don't get me started on the
he's got some
underbellies of the
dark-
internet. Oh, man.
One of the first over here. One of the
I was
very
that-
first deviants.
Yeah, I was that guy. It's like, he's seen this shit, he's seen this shit. And then
you seen-
we'd one up each other. It's like, nah, I've seen that shit, but have you seen this shit? Oh man, the internet. I haven't done that for years though, but that was good fun. Yeah, actually, it was on the bowel movement thing. That's actually something that was one of the first pieces of movement advice that was given by Ito, which was in relation to the squat pattern, the resting squat, and how a lot of third world countries people living in them would still have a squat position.
Developing, bro. Developing.
Politically correct here. Yeah, and because they have a lot of squat toilets there still, so they're always using. There's a context in which the squat pattern emerges. So they actually have less likelihood of getting bowel cancer than the Western world because they're fully evacuating their bowels. Whereas we're kind of stuck in this weird position where we're not fully evacuating because we're not bending our bodies into like this, not getting the leverage to squeeze it out.
Yeah.
And I've started raising my feet.
Colon alignment.
Yeah, exactly. Like the way that our bodies are when we've got our knees at right angles on our regular toilet, we actually just it's some of the colon alignment squeezed in a different way, and we're not actually able to recruit enough of those inner muscles to like squeeze it out. Whereas if you're bunched up into like fetal position, you have a ton of leverage. Like
Some force production
it's
going
like
on.
grab your knees and just pull. And
Have you ever seen the videos on the internet of the some sort of Central or South American culture that birth babies in the squat position? Have you
I
seen
think
that?
most humans use
Did they used to?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, because I remember when we were having our first
You
game, we
work
did a
between
course.
those positions. Yeah.
Yeah, we watched the videos, and it was, man, the ease in
Shit
which
just
these
flies out.
babies just
Yeah.
fell out. They're in full squat, knees like so wide apart, and they just flush them out, and it's comfortable for them.
yeah, that's the position I would want to be in if I was giving birth to a baby. Having something that big come out of me. You need that leverage.
Well, you think
'Cause,
about like when you're doing a big poo, and if you're doing a big poo and you can squat, it makes sense.
It's true.
Yeah, you're pushing
Speak about
something
movement.
out.
Let's move away from this topic.
Oh, I'm just getting into it.
But yeah, this is, I think, another thing I want to mention too with the whole movement side of things. It's really big for us. That carries over to all of our classes and is very relevant, particularly to like our fight community and the jiu-jitsu community within the Jungle Brothers. Is this this idea of building strength out of alignment, which is basically just becoming strong in non-conventional positions, non-linear patterns, non-linear positions. So you look at the standard kind of strength and conditioning routine for someone. They go and squat and deadlift and then pull and push a little bit and then do some crunches. But then they go and like play soccer or go to jiu-jitsu or something like that, and someone's attacking their knee from all these different angles, and they're falling and twisting and rotating while loading, and like they're doing such dynamic shit, but they don't explore any of that shit in their training. So in essence, they're kind of completely unprepared for the forces that they're under during that practice. And I think that, you know, like most people in their lives now, they never explore these out of alignment positions, even if they're not playing sport, even if they're just a person who goes to work and goes to the gym there. You take them out of alignment and they're a fucking pussycat. So I think that a big part of what we're doing is getting people out of alignment, no?
100%. Yeah, and I think a lot of... So people who don't exercise much, they're like, okay, well, what do I do? Do I go cycling? Do I go running? Do I go here? Do I go there? Do I go rock climbing? Do I go learn a martial art? Or do I go to a dance place? And I realize now that a lot of the places that offer those kind of disciplines, the way they teach tends to be influenced by competition. So what they teach ends up being very geared towards, okay, what's useful in certain contexts, or performance. So for dance, it's like, you know, let's not get you into tune with your own body and how rhythmically it moves, but let's get you to perform the big moves that you would do on stage, right? And not everyone actually wants to be a performer, but can actually really benefit from dance. And not everyone wants to be a fighter, like go into the ring and get smashed. But it would benefit them to learn how to throw a punch. Even if they never have to throw a punch in their lives, just establishing that communication between the feet and the hands and all sorts of other things and stringing things together is great for the brain, it's great for the body, it's great for the joints, everything. And if those spaces, I feel that most spaces tend to teach things in very much of a constrained format because their bread and butter is to send people out to these competitions or to these dance performances or whatever it might be, in order to build up their business, you know? And people who aren't prepared for that physically, and most people who are looking for a discipline or some kind of physical outlet, they go to this, they're not going to be prepared for the kind of physical forces that await them, you know? And a lot of people end up falling away because they get injured or it's too hard or, you know, they're just not able to cope with whatever pressures exist in that environment. So what I like about what we're doing here is that we're trying to, you know, get people in different... We've got a few different doors. We've got the fight door, we've got the lift door, we've got the move door, you know, and there's a lot of different doors within those doors. And it's like if someone, you know, is coming in and their level is getting a really, really heavy deadlift, awesome. And then let's encourage them to explore some other things. Where are you going to invest that strength now, you know, to get more strength in other places? You know, I think that's really important.
Great way of putting it.
Yeah, it is.
Salsa.
When are you guys going to come to a salsa
Butts
class?
gleaming.
When he says you guys, he
Man,
means Joe and T.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been ruling the salsa floor.
Yeah, that's right. Well, here's the funny thing
Paul's
about...
pretty good. Paul's got rhythm, though.
Yeah, but that's because he's
probably
put himself there. He's put himself there. And even when you have rhythm, you go to another
We've got
class.
two coconuts at this gym. One has rhythm, one doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, like even like what you said, like shiny butt. Is that what you said? Like you're referencing the costumes they wear, right?
Yeah, and the way the deadlift can make your butt look all shiny and shit in a costume.
What?
Yeah, well, you think about it.
Yeah.
It's all aesthetic, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah. Part of it is, for sure. Part of it is.
Ooh, can of worms.
Yeah.
Guy's cerebral as a motherfucker.
I mean, if you could have
down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I think what turns off people about fight and what turns people off about a dance is like the aesthetic, the visual stuff. Like people look at UFC and they're like, oh, it's violent, it's bad, blah blah blah. And then when people look at like professional dancers, you know, especially the men, they tend to wear all this. Like no one has a problem with the women, but you know, with the men, it's like they're wearing all this tight stuff, and I'm like, and even me, I'm like, man, why do they have to wear that? Like,
And
does
he's
it have to be
smiling all
that?
the time.
Yeah.
He's
It's just
smiling. His teeth are so straight.
Most of them,
Totally.
Most of them want to wear that.
right. Okay. Yeah.
But you
And it doesn't speak
Go
the
on.
language of a lot of people. You know,
Yeah.
people think that that's all dance is because that's all they've been exposed to of dance, and that's all they've been exposed to of fighting. They don't see any other value in it. But you only see the value when you actually get into it, you know, and you feel it, and you're like, oh, okay, so it's not just about violence, it's about restraint, it's about learning how to like use your body in certain ways and
And then
control it.
partner dance, that's huge.
It's massive.
Communication, physical communication.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that whole stuff with the partner stuff that we've been learning.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like very small, subtle, tactile cues that send them into a big motion.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cool. It's super cool.
Yeah, like the difference between a hand being higher or lower or pushing this way or this way is like
And
a
just
language.
Slight. Like even those grips you're showing us where it's just like you're just cradling the finger. But it's
Exactly.
enough in that shape to pull that person a meter and a half that way and then whip them or whatever.
Correct. Providing that person is providing you that shape. So they've got to listen.
Yeah.
They've got to make a frame. They've got to be
cool.
receptive. So there's a
You
lot of shit
talking
going
our language
on.
here, Team
And
Joe?
all to
Come on,
the-
Team.
I'm picking it all up, man. I'm picking it all up.
No, I think personally, look, my wife's a professional dancer, and I've watched a multitude of different shows over the years. Every time we go to a new city, we watch maybe 4 or 5 stage shows and then concerts, and so I'm a good observer, and I do believe that dance is at the pinnacle of movement. Personally, when I watch a ballet or watch professional poppers and dancers, like there's no
Breakers.
other athlete on the world who can do what they do.
Oof, break
You know?
dancers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
true. And a lot of the best fighters, they'll use dance, right?
Yeah.
They'll use
100%.
music and rhythm. You
Anderson.
posted something the other week.
Yeah, Shevchenko.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does like so many different kinds. She does like all the Peruvian dances. She's a Russian in Peru, like fighting out of Lima, Peru, girl called Shevchenko, right? And she knows like the Russian folk dance. And like folk dance has a ton of all this interesting stuff in it. And she does like the Peruvian dances, like the festejo and the salsa. And
How cool.
yeah, it's crazy good. She's really good. And then her and her sister, they both like train with a certain pace and a certain rhythm. And so they get, it's interesting when you train with rhythm because you get more reps in. You actually get more reps in.
Forces you into,
Yeah.
keeping time and staying more,
Exactly. And then when you know you're in rhythm, you also know when you're out of rhythm. So then you can train out of rhythm as well. And when you listen to Conor McGregor talk about his fights, he always talks about like rhythm, setting a rhythm and breaking a rhythm, and finding what that person's rhythm is and then finding a weakness in that rhythm and capitalizing on that. And it's just literally millimeters or like little beats that they take advantage of. That's invisible to the naked eye. But if you do enough of that practice of fighting and a bit of dance, a bit of something that helps you get into rhythm, you're suddenly going to start seeing some stuff in those fights. Even like when I first started watching MMA, my friend introduced me to Anderson Silva. So prior to that, I was surfing internet forums and I'd see like random posts of like, oh, Fedor Emelianenko, crazy knockout, and the UFC 1 stuff, all the freak show stuff. So I wasn't super into it. I was just into the freaky stuff. And he's like, dude, come over. I'll show you some Anderson Silva. Have you heard of him? I'm like, nah. So I'll go over to his house and he plays all of his previous fights. And straight away I noticed, I was like, as soon as I saw him move, I'm like, this guy's done capoeira. And he has done capoeira. Not all the Brazilian fighters do, but I can tell the ones that have because the way they stand and the way they move has a different quality about it. They're less rigid. They move in more circular patterns, because in capoeira you're forced to move in a circular way.
Yep.
And a lot of the Afro styles are very circular. They create power through like circular motion. I mean, have you guys seen those African dancers? They look like they're doing tricks, but they're doing just spins in the air and they're jumping and they're landing and they land and they continue with the spin and they just keep jumping and they get faster and faster and faster. So they're constantly practicing this just for fun. And then it gets sort of cross-pollinated with other styles, and then fighters like Anderson and even Conor, he does a bit of it as well because he got exposed to capoeira through Ito. And probably, prior to that, I'm not sure what his history is, but you can even see it in the way he moves. It's a very different quality to the kind of movement. And it's a different dimension that gives him that edge, which I think is what makes him great. And is what made Anderson great as well. There's all these invisible hidden dimensions. And then there's like the mental game and stuff.
It's true. And it's the stuff that from the outside, like most people don't see. They're like, oh, that person's really good, but I'm not quite sure why it is. And it's almost like they like you said, another dimension, like they can work on another plane that their regular opponent cannot.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's right. And when they're faced with something unknown, they're just kind of like, ugh. They stop for a brief second, and then that's when they can insert a punch.
Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah.
I fucking love watching McGregor fighting.
I love it.
spewing that he's not in the UFC right now, that he's kind of tapped out for the moment.
Yeah. But he's fighting Mayweather, so it's kind of like...
Yeah, but I don't give a fuck about boxing.
Yeah.
Just can't get into it. I don't know.
But what about the whole he's just a totally different style? He could get smashed, or he could be something anomalous to what he's used to.
The prospect is exciting, but
Yeah,
I'm sure the fight won't be explosive.
Yeah,
I'm sure
I
it'll
get
be
it.
just
I get
another
that.
boxing match where it's
Yeah.
like that tip-tap shit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting.
No
get
offense
his
to any
ass
boxers out there. It's a fucking amazing sport.
gonna
But
get
I
his
mean,
ass.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
I think Mayweather's going to wipe him.
Yeah.
Probably.
If it
Yeah.
even fucking happens. I know it's like booked, but I still don't feel like it's going to happen. Fuck.
That is
But
something
I get
didn't
what
know.
you're saying, Joe. Like, it's interesting for me. I'm still invested in the prospect, and I'm interested to see the fight and blah, blah, blah. But I really essentially would love to see him in his prime, back active again, fighting 2 to 3 times a year in MMA.
That's right.
That'd
I
be
want to
great.
see him throwing
next
those
year.
spinning kicks, them spinning techniques, and moving his feet the way he does.
Oh man,
You know,
yeah, great balance.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what he looks like just with the boxing, like the adjustments he makes with the stance, and just what it looks like. It's interesting to know.
Absolutely. I'll be tuning in.
I wanted to. I thought maybe we could wrap up with just like a couple of quick takeaways for people, like a couple of quick little movement takeaways. You know, like I think
chow
there's
mein
some.
takeaway.
Yeah, there's some real gold in there for the regular crew out there who aren't really exploring this stuff yet. Al, do you have something? I've got a little something up my sleeve.
Yeah, cool. I would just encourage people to try and find, whenever they're moving in any class or any discipline or anything that they're doing, just trying to find the connection between what you're doing to something else. Because if you start with that mindset and you're consistent with it, over months and over years, you're going to become actually a very good mover, because that's basically how I kind of just taught myself. I was like, okay, where can I apply this? Where else can I apply this? I think that's very important. I mean, even when I teach kettlebells, for example, like the clean and then pushing it out back into a swing, I'm like, this kind of feels like a punch to me. Explore that. And then I just let them go with it, you know? And I don't know how much that's sunken in, but I would just recommend people to try and look at the connections and find the connections between different things, or seemingly different things.
I like it.
Contact us and ask us about our online programming system, and keep your eye out for our fully automated online programming, which is also in the pipeline.
Indeed, it is.
Nice. Yeah, I got. I think for me the big one is explore these out of alignment positions. So don't get so caught up like moving in straight lines all the time. Don't feel that your exercise regime has to look perfectly structured and be completely measurable. You know, like put it 5 minutes aside a day before you go on the mats in jiu-jitsu, or before you start off in the gym, or, you know, before you lift some weights, whatever. Just explore some shit, you know, whether you're down in a squat, you know, rotating through the knees and shifting side to side, or getting into the hips, or swinging from a bar, opening up the shoulders, whatever it is. Just get out of alignment a little bit and reap some serious benefits. Photo, you got anything?
I guess I would say, you know, we come into the gym sometimes to, you know, like what the analogy T always uses is like you can see it as a garage, a mechanic. You come in here and you fix yourself, you analyze what's going on, and we provide great tools. We can help you with, you know, whatever issues you may have or any goals you may have. But beyond that, like, I just want to encourage people to also step out beyond here and not get too obsessed with the tools and using of the tools, and getting obsessed by just stretching or just doing this, and getting out of here and then going and moving in other places. For instance, dance. Please, I encourage our members to go and try fighting at a jiu-jitsu gym beyond here, and you know, explore something more specialized. And then, you know, if you want, come back here and, you know, use our tools again. I guess that's the message that I want to put out.
Nice.
Emphasised recently to me when I did the Ito course setup in Newcastle a few weeks ago, which really resonated with me, and that's what aligns us with him a lot, because that's how we felt from the beginning.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, on the jiu-jitsu front, actually, look out for our new space. We're going to have some mats there.
Yeah.
We're already talking about developing our own jiu-jitsu program. So we're on the lookout for a new spot, but more information on that to come. You can get excited about it now.
Sick.
And go. Excited.
Just move.
Yeah, and again, if all of this terminology that we've been using is all a little bit foreign to you, like it's out of alignment and all this kind of stuff, and it interests you a little bit more, just reach out. junglebrothers.com.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Sweet.
Okay.
Thank
for
you,
having
boys.
Thanks for listening, listeners.
Thanks, guys.
Far and wide.
Coach Al,
And
cherry
near.
popped.
Yeah.
Good to have you here, Al. Let's get some
Thanks,
lunch. Thanks for listening, everybody. That was lots of fun. We hope you took some cool stuff away from that.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Hey, and just lastly, if you haven't jumped onto our website already, make sure you do, junglebrothers.com. Grab the Sick Handstand ebook, master that tough skill. Sign up for our newsletter. Upcoming events, we've got our Bulletproof Bodies for BJJ event happening next month. And also in May, we've got our retreat coming up. And just reaching out to anyone there that's interested in getting started on their strength and movement journey, hit us up. We offer a free consult, online, Skype, phone, whatever it has to be.
We've got a sick community down here.
Yeah, reach out. Come join. Be part of the movement.
Yeah, okay. Until next time, thanks for listening.